Hey everybody, it's Mama to Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. Here at Mama to Wife of One, I like to do reviews and recaps of Married at First Sight, but also like to do things like have story time with my daughter, give you guys tips on anything that comes to mind when it comes to being a mommy or being a wife or being organized, and sometimes I like to do movie reviews with my babies. But as you can see from the title below, we are here to discuss Season 13, Episode 15 of Married at First Sight. For those of you who are just tuning to the channel because you just want to see my beautiful face, jeez, but you don't know anything about the show, feel free to go back and start watching the reviews and recaps from episode 1 all the way to now episode 15. I think I give pretty good reviews. I give you guys not good advice, but I give you guys good recaps of what's happening and my tidbits on what's going wrong and who's annoying me and all that good stuff. So definitely go back. And while you're doing that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video, click the notification bell, and also make sure you comment. I love talking to you guys about the show and about the foolery and the mess that is all of these couples. So last week, all the couples went on a couples retreat. This week, they went to their childhood homes or discussed their childhood with their spouse. They are less than 2 weeks away from decision day. So this is the point where Dr. Pepper comes in and she talks to them about just any lingering questions, any lingering concerns they may have. So before they get to decision day, basically. And I love it when they go back to their childhood homes to talk about their childhood in general, because a lot of them get this fresh revelation of, oh, that's why I'm the way I am, because I didn't have this growing up, or because I had that growing up, that's why this is so important to me. So it's really interesting to see, and it's really great for the spouses to really get to know their partners on a deeper level. So I'm going to start with Mirla and Gil. I think they're doing very well. I definitely don't see any major signs that they're not going to stay together. I will say that I'm tired of Gil getting on Mirla about her spending. Now, if you guys have not seen the show, Mirla's whole persona is she's a shopaholic and she likes to find her things in life, and she gets her lashes done all the time, and she gets her Botox, and she does this and she does that. That's all well and good. But they definitely painted her in that way intentionally, because they have to kind of paint people in these stereotypical roles sometimes to get us interested in watching. But Mirla has proven to be extremely financially savvy. She saves a lot of money. And yes, she likes to find things in life, but that's because of where she came from. She came from living in a one-room house with her, I want to say it's 3 or 4 siblings and her mom. So she came from really humble beginnings, and so it's very important to her that I'm not going back there again. I work really hard to make sure I can have the kind of life that I've always wanted. And I don't see anything wrong with that. The discussion about her spending came up again because Mirla and Gil are both talking about, this is one thing I do love about them as a couple, their focus is not on the 8 weeks. Like all the other couples, like, oh, decision day is coming up, we're going to do the 8 weeks. I don't know what we're going to do. Blah. Their focus is, okay, so we already know decision day is there. Yeah, we're going to say yes, that's fine. What are we going to do beyond that? Where do we want to live? Do we want to build a house? Do we want to rent a house? How many babies are we going to have? Are we going to get a nanny? We're not going to get a nanny. So they're talking about long-term, this is our marriage. What kind of life are we going to have for each other? So in having the discussion about saving for a house, this is with Dr. Pepper, Gil brings up, maybe the spending, if you did that a little bit less, then maybe we can get a house quicker. And I feel like Mirla has adjusted a lot this season, more than anybody expected her to. I feel like she personally has done some of the most growth out of all of the people on the show. And I feel like it's just not fair to ask her to give that up as well. In 15 weeks, we haven't even seen Mirla do any shopping. We've seen her look at some stuff online, but not really buy anything. So we don't even know how often she goes shopping, A. B, I feel like she sets aside a certain amount of money every month or every other month, whatever, specifically for shopping. And I feel like she's smart enough that she's like, okay, this money is for saving. This money is for bills. This money is for shopping. And then this money is play money that I'm investing or whatever. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you have that set amount of money to the side, and as long as you're not asking Gil to give any of his money to attribute to your shopping, I don't think it should matter. So I don't know if they have him making these comments like this because he's actually worried about it, or because they want to kind of keep that storyline going that, ooh, this is a major thing, and marriages and the divorce when it comes to finances, and ooh. I think they're perfectly fine, though. I think they're going to be good. I still like them as a couple. Kudos to Gil and Mirla for doing this the right way. Next is Jose and Rachel. They're not bad people, but Jose definitely has signs of being controlling. I think he's trying to work on it, which is all well and good, but that's not something you can fix overnight, especially when you just got the revelation during this process that you can be controlling and that you don't really listen. So just getting that fresh revelation at the age of 35, that means it's going to take a little time for you to really have a handle on that. So I see that being a problem in the future. She confessed to him this episode that on the night when he locked her out of the house, they showed her banging on his door, or on their door rather, calling him, banging on all the other couples' doors. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, oh my God, somebody let me in. Nobody let her in, but they never showed what happened to her after that. So we just all assumed, at least I assumed, that one of the couples heard her banging on the door and let her in. Not so. She apparently called an ex-boyfriend who picked her up, and she spent the night at his house. So this is what she confessed to Jose. Now, I've heard some people say that they're not mad at Rachel. They completely understand because of all the stuff Jose has put her through and because of how traumatic that night was. Yes, that night was very traumatic. Yes, Jose was being very vengeful and petty and just downright mean and nasty. I agree with all of that. However, I feel like running to your ex at the first sign of trouble, granted, this is big trouble, but running to your ex at the first sign of trouble isn't a good sign. There were no girlfriends you could call. All the producers are all in the show. You couldn't contact one of the producers and like stay with one of them or have them drop you off somewhere. Like I didn't think that was a very wise decision on her part. And obviously she's still learning what it means to be a wife and he's still learning what it means to be a husband. But trust and fidelity are very big for him because his father cheated on his mother. So he takes those things very seriously, as most people tend to do. So I don't know what's going to happen. Now that she's revealed this, I don't know if he's going to believe that nothing happened. I don't know if he said his guard is up a little bit, and I actually do understand. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I feel like they'll probably say yes on decision day, but I don't think they're going to make it in the long run. I don't really see it for them. Brett and Ryan. Okay, so Ryan took Brett on the ATV. He took her fishing. He is the down south like homeboy that loves to do all of that outdoorsy stuff. He's shooting, the fishing, the sports, the swinging from trees. Like he's that type of guy. Brett is not. But Brett knows that when he's in his element, he's a little more open to talking. He kind of shows his vulnerable side a little bit more. So they had a cute little moment where they're reading the letters that they wrote to their younger self, which is part of their assignment this week. And he got emotional talking about his best friend who passed away a couple years ago. And it was sweet. It was tender. This is great. But then they get home. And Brett has a like plastic case that she's holding that has her childhood pictures. So the whole point is to write a letter to your childhood self and then either take your spouse to your childhood home or show them some pictures of where you grew up or pictures of your family so they can, again, get an idea of who you were then and how you came to be who you are now. So they get in the house and she's like, so I have my childhood pictures here, but I don't think I want to show them to you. It's like, say more, Brett. What does this mean? And basically a friend of hers contacted Brett and had proof that Ryan is on a dating app and that he matched with someone that she happens to know. And his whole thing is, oh, well, I've had the app for a while, but I disabled it. It's not supposed to be enabled anymore. And she's like, okay, but you matched with someone today. Like this happened just today that you matched with somebody. And her thing is, again, they're like a week away from decision day. She's like, dude, you couldn't wait a week. Like, really, you couldn't wait a week. She never raised her voice. She never got like really snappy. She was just like hitting him with the facts. Like, I have proof. What is wrong with you? You couldn't wait that long. Like, I don't understand like what you thought was going to happen. Like, you really thought I wasn't going to find out. And he's flustered because there's nothing he can say. Ryan is the kind of person where in his mind, actions speak louder than words. But when he's confronted with something, he gets either flustered or he gets defensive. He's not good at confrontation and he's not good at having these tough conversations at all. So in that moment, there was nothing he could say. So he's like, okay, well, I think I should leave. She's like, okay. And he left, and then I guess he's like pleading the case to the producers or talking to producers outside. Again, the producers are way too involved in this freaking show. Let Ryan leave. He got up, he did something wrong. Let this man leave. What are you doing? Stop. So they didn't show the producer, but they showed the producer, like, you heard the producer's voice talking to Ryan and basically convincing him, well, if you say this is all misunderstanding, send Brett a text message to let her know, which was so shady because they set him up. Because when he sent the text message, what they did, which I've never, ever, ever seen them do in the history of Married at First Sight, they put the text message on the screen in its entirety for all of us to read. I was like, wow, you guys are doing this now? It just seemed very... I don't watch shows on Bravo, but it seemed very much along that vein of being very dramatic and hyping it up and, oh, you see this and, oh, I can't believe it. Seemed very much like that. And that's not what Married at First Sight was supposed to be about, but I feel like it's going down that route slowly but surely every season, where they're really hyping up the drama, hyping up the ridiculousness. So to show that man's text on screen like that, I thought was really shady. And I was like, I just didn't appreciate that. I didn't like it at all. And the text was basically saying that I had no intention of the app being enabled or whatever until after decision day. But basically, I have this app. I know we're not going to work. So I'm going to get the app now. So that way, the day after decision day, I can enable it and make myself active again and I can start dating in these streets. Still, that doesn't make things any better at all. And granted, things have been rocky for a long time, but like, what are you doing? That was just such a weird thing to do. It was really a stupid thing to do. And his reaction to it was really dumb as well, because he just almost acted like, I don't know, acted like he was the victim almost. Like, no, well, that I don't know why they would enable my thing. I didn't tell them to do that. It's like, why do you have this app on your phone, bro? As soon as you were matched with someone, before you knew Brett, before you knew you were going to get married to someone you weren't attracted to, before you knew all of that, you still knew you were going to get married. So once you were picked for the show to be married, those apps should have come off of your phone. Because they're apps. You can easily put them back on your phone if you get a divorce, but take them off your phone. That's a sign of showing you're serious about being married. It was just a really weird situation. I still really, really, really like Brett. She's one of the few people that I've been consistent with the whole season. I've always liked Brett. I like the things that she says. I like that she stands up for herself. I like how smart and calm and cool she is. I really like Brett. Oh gosh, I don't even know which one is on. Whew. Between Johnny and Bao and Michaela and Zach, I'm going to go with, I'm going to go Michaela and Zach. I'm going to talk about them. Johnny and Bao will save for later. So Michaela and Zach, if you guys have not watched my review and recap of episode 14 from last week, pause this video, go watch that one in its entirety, then come back and pick this up, okay? Just open 2 windows on your computer. It's fine. So last week, they did the couples retreat. Apparently, they had a side conversation off camera that they agreed we're going to get a divorce, that we're going to work on ourselves individually, that we're going to come back and try to date because you're a good person and I'm a really good person. And there's definitely something here that I don't think either one of us are in a position to really be married right now, because there's clearly some internal work we need to do on ourselves. That was the consensus of both of them. But now that they're on camera, Michaela's singing a different tune. So they get into this huge argument. Bao calms her down. And then when she gets back in the house, she's all happy-go-lucky. And that was one of Zach's, not concerns, but one of his criticisms about her, is that whenever we have a fight or we get angry with each other or whatever, the next day you act like absolutely nothing has happened. Like nothing has gone wrong. And by doing that, nothing has been resolved. And no apologies have been made. And most of the time he feels like he just is the one that deserves an apology. And sometimes he does, but sometimes he needs to issue it as well, right? So at the retreat, there was this huge blow up about basically them not resolving the issue. So he's like, I just don't know how long I can do this. This is a lot. And it gets to a point where he's like, if you don't want me to be here, I will leave. And so she's like, fine, go. I want you to leave. You can leave now. He gets up to leave. What are you doing? No, I want you to stay because you need to rest It's late. I don't want you driving this late at night. It doesn't make sense. It goes from that to her taking the suitcase away from him and throwing it back in the room, to her following him and saying all this nasty, vile stuff to him leaving, and now she's tossing stuff around the Airbnb, knocking benches over, pushing everything out of her way, right? So that's how the episode ends for the most part. So this week, they show him, and he says, I'm trying to talk to Dr. Pepper. I think that Dr. Pepper needs to talk to both of us, but we need to talk to her separately. Because I haven't talked to Michaela. I haven't texted Michaela, but I'm at my limit. I am done, right? Cut to Michaela. She was like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I've called Zach. I've texted him basically to tell him that I love him, and crickets. I've heard nothing. And it's so strange. It's like, you're the one that left. You're the one that abandoned me. And I was like, is she serious right now? And when she talked to Dr. Pepper, I saw how serious she actually was. Her version of the story is, I don't know what was said in the bedroom between us that made him want to leave me. He left. I was so hurt by that. I kept saying, Zach, please don't leave. Zach, please, I want you to stay. Now, mind you, the way she's telling the story, that's not how she conveyed it to Zach. To Zach, she was cursing and screaming and doing all that stuff, but her retelling is making it seem like she was begging this man to stay, and he was so vicious that he was like, no, wench, I'm going to leave anyway. That's in her mind what happened. And that's what she saw in Dr. Pepper. And it's so fascinating because I'm looking at Zach's facial expressions, and I'm like, and granted, Zach is never completely innocent in these situations, but I was feeling him. Everything he was like doing with his face, I was feeling every moment of it, because he's just like, because he's like, I don't even know what to do with this. And I'm sure there was so, because he talked to Dr. Pepper first and basically said like, yo, got out of hand. This is too much for me. I don't think I can handle it. So Michaela comes in and she basically saying, I've done everything. I tell him I love him. I'm trying to be there for him. And he just left. Like, knowing I have abandonment issues, like, he just left me. And I just don't know if I can come back from that, Dr. Pepper. I feel like I've done everything I can. And Dr. Pepper's like, okay. Because what I don't understand is Michaela's acting like that incident with her and Zach happened in their apartment and nobody was around to witness it. No. This was at the retreat. All of the couples were there. So they may not have seen everything. Bao saw everything. All the couples heard you. The cameras were on you the whole time. And we saw it. The experts see the footage every week. So Dr. Pepper knows exactly what happened. But she's keeping it cool. She's like, oh, okay. So Dr. Pepper basically said to Zach, you need to talk to each other, but I understand that you guys are not very good at listening to each other. So when Michaela comes in here, she'll say her piece. I'm going to interpret what she's saying to you. You tell me your piece. I'm going to interpret what you're saying to her. So that way you guys can kind of understand where you guys are coming from. He's like, all right, fine. So when Michaela starts saying all this stuff and leaving out vital information, by the way, Zach is just, I don't even know if the right word. He was just blown. He was like, and Dr. Pepper's like, Zach, would you like to respond? And he's like, honestly, Dr. Pepper, I think I just need to listen because I don't think I can talk. And I felt him because he was just looking like, what am I supposed to say? And I was telling my husband about it, and my husband was like, nah, he should have called her out. And I was like, he could have said a lot of stuff to her. However, you can't talk sense into someone who is not holding themselves accountable. Like, you just absolutely can't. The fact that that's how she recounted the story is proof to him and to us that she is not owning up to her part in any of this. So knowing that that's how she feels, anything Zach would have said still would have gone over her head. And it just, it wouldn't have made a difference at all. It would just been hot air. Like, that's it. And so he basically said something like, I don't know about Michaela's outburst and the way she handles situations. It's just really difficult. Michaela's response was, Doctor, and she wasn't talking to Zach. She was like, Dr. Pepper, I feel like he paints me as this crazy person, but there's no proof of any of the things that he says. Did you forget you're on the show? You're on a show. Like, there are cameras that follow you everywhere. There are, it's shown on Lifetime, which is, a national, maybe international channel. We saw you. The couple saw you. The experts have seen you. So the fact that she's like, he's blowing it up, makes me like I'm this crazy person. I don't know many sane people that have that kind of reaction and that flip flop the way she did in the conversation as well. And so at that point, he was like, you know what? I thought I could do this. I can't. I'm sorry, Dr. Pepper. I just can't do this. And he got up and he left. And I'm not mad at him because what are you supposed to do with that? There's absolutely nothing I can say at this point to get you to understand how what you said was hurtful, how you were so incredibly disrespectful. There's absolutely nothing Zach can say. So he gets up and he leaves. And in Michaela's mind, there he goes, leaving me again. And so she brings up the whole, her father passed away. So when my dad died, I felt abandoned. And so when Zach leaving, it felt like a death when he left. And Dr. Pepper, want to be empathetic to someone who lost their father, obviously. Someone who clearly hasn't dealt with the loss. You want to be empathetic to that. But at the same token, I don't know if it's fair of her to use that as a crutch time and time again. However, it's also not fair of Zach to continuously leave or threaten to leave, knowing that it's a trigger for her because Pastor Cal brought up that it's possibly a trigger for her a few weeks ago. So knowing that and Zach continuously going to his house to sleep or even threatening to leave during the retreat, it's like, why do you keep doing that? Because he's threatening to leave, not because he's trying to trigger her. He wants her to beg him to stay. But she's so full of her own pride and ego that she just encourages him to leave. And in the end, when he does leave, she's feeling abandoned. They're just weird. They're basically playing games with each other. Neither one of them are trying to budge. He's all about, oh, love me, need me, want me. And she's like, well, forget you. I don't need you anyway. How is that helping anybody? Neither one of them being honest with themselves and not being honest with each other. And again, they're just kind of playing this game and playing this role because one person has to be on top in some way, shape, or form. So at the end of the episode, they're like kind of talking. They're like, I guess, trying to like mend things. I don't know why. What is there to mend? Somebody explain that to me in the comments. What do Michaela and Zach have? What have you guys seen that maybe I haven't seen? I don't know what's left for them to actually discuss. I don't know she loves him, and apparently I think maybe he loves her, maybe, I don't know. But outside of loving each other, what do they actually have? They spend so much time fighting with each other. They haven't even talked about the future. So I don't think they even know what the other person even wants long term. So what exactly do you have? What kind of foundation do either of you have to stand on right now? It makes no sense, and it just made me upset. They're not going to make it. They make no sense. And if they say yes, I'm going to be pissed off. Regardless, they ain't going to stay together. But it just made no sense. It really made no sense. And again, I can't put all the blame on Michaela. She definitely was delusional in what she was saying. So that part is her to blame. But Zach continuously playing these games of leaving her, knowing that she has that issue. That's not fair to her either. So that's my take on them. Oh gosh, Val and Johnny. Every week, Johnny pisses me off more and more. Had a slight moment of feeling for him when he talked about where he lives. When he read his note to his younger self, it was really, really sweet. He talked about his family life and how important his village is to him. He talked about a lot about his parents getting divorced and how divorce isn't that common in Asian culture, but how that impacted him. He was like, my mom basically, the dad lives in California, and obviously the show is in Houston this season. And he told Val, my dad bought a house for all of us. We went out to California, and my mom was like, she wasn't having it. She told him, don't ever come back. She's like, until this day, he has not come back to Texas. He's been in California this whole time and refuses to come back. And Johnny started having revelations on his own, like, oh, maybe that's why it's so easy for me to dip in and out of relationships, because seeing divorce gave me the mindset that, oh, divorce is an option. Nothing has to be permanent. If it's not working out, I can just go on to something else. And hence why he's had 100 first dates and his relationships haven't been that meaningful or that long. And, he was having this revelation like, oh, he's like, I really haven't been trying with Val. Like, that's why I'm like this, because in my mind, oh yeah, divorce is an option. Like people do it all the time. Like, of course. And, the same without my dad around, it was hurtful, but I didn't have that person around to show me how to be a husband or how to be a father. So it's like, okay, look at you, Johnny, having some mental growth. This is good. Unfortunately, on this show, when stuff like that happens, you know that the other shoe's going to drop at some point. But in that moment, I felt for him and I was like, good, Johnny. Yes, you're learning and you're opening your eyes to how you've behaved in this marriage. This is a great thing. Yes, happy for you. Bao had me in tears when she was talking about her childhood, because she mentioned it to him before about how she grew up really poor. She grew up in a trailer home. She was very embarrassed about how poor she was. And the spot that she took him to, the trailer home, isn't even there anymore. It's just kind of an empty lot. And she read the letter to herself, and she talked about how her father was in the war. He had PTSD, and how at that time no one really knew how to deal with it, but it was really, really tough for her to see, and how her mom kind of rallied around him and did the best she could. And Bao broke down in tears reading the letter, and Johnny consoled her. And I was so happy to see that. I knew it was going to be fleeting, but I was happy that at least in that moment, despite whatever feelings he has about her, despite his mistreatment of her in the past and all the mean things he said to her, I was happy that in that moment of her really feeling her emotions, showing her vulnerability, crying and being, upset, being taken back to her childhood, I was glad that in that moment, he knew to hold her close and give her that physical comfort that she desperately needed in that moment. So if nothing else, I will give him credit for that, because I didn't know if he was going to just let her cry or not. So I was like, okay, at least you gave her comfort. Not even a whole point for you, because that's, human decency, but I'm glad he at least did that. But then, like I said, nothing ever lasts. They meet with Dr. Pepper, and Dr. Pepper's like, oh, so you guys, almost decision day, and, how are you guys feeling? Is there anything that you still need to learn about each other? And Johnny drops the bomb. Dum, dum, dum. And he's basically like, I don't think I've learned all that I can, but I've learned all that I want to. She's like, what? And mind you, so this is, there's so many things wrong with this. Basically, Johnny spoke to Bao's best friend, Sarah. Sarah told Johnny, Bao is awful in relationships. She's very controlling, manipulative. She does this in every relationship she's been in, until the person basically breaks down and Bao can kind of build them back up and mold them some kind of person she wants them to be. This is what Bao's so-called best friend told Johnny. A couple things wrong with the scenario, okay? From Johnny's perspective, why are you discussing your marriage with another woman? It doesn't matter if it's Bao's friend or not. Why are you discussing your marriage with another woman? Why are you having a conversation with Bao's friend at all? Y'all not friends. That's not your homegirl. You've known her as long as you've known Bao. Why are you talking to her friend at all? Bao's so-called best friend. What are you doing? Why are you talking to this woman's husband? The only time I think a woman should talk to another woman's husband, just like your best friend. All the time you be talking to that woman's husband is about your friend, but not in a bad way. Is if you're planning a surprise party, maybe, then you can be the contact for that. It's if maybe you're worried about her and maybe she's not talking to you, so you tell the husband, maybe, but not on this type of stuff. What kind of best friend issue is that? Where did they do that at? And, I hate that happened. And then also, how are you going to spring this on Bao when Dr. Pepper's there? What are you doing? It just seemed really intentional, because again, Johnny can be downright mean to this woman. So I felt like this was just another example of him not really caring about her feelings, not caring how she's going to see the situation, and just being mean to her. Like, oh, so I heard this, and this about you. Not giving her a chance to defend herself at all. And the thing is, you've already made up your mind about Bao weeks ago. And because of that, all you needed was Sarah to say, oh, well, I don't know, she did this. And she was like, oh, say less. That's all I need to hear. Great. I knew I was right. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, no. Why? And Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper said something. It was a very small comment, but I understood what she was saying. She's like, well, Johnny, I think that Bao deserves the right to kind of counter whatever Sarah says. So I think you need to talk to Bao and let her know about the conversation, because you seemed, you believed her right away. AKA, why the freak are you believing this heifer? You don't know this chick? And granted, Bao is someone you're still getting to know as well, but you've had way more conversations with Bao, so you should know more about her character by now than you do Sarah. Why did you automatically believe what Sarah told you? Because she's Bao's best friend? It never even dawned on you that, okay, this is Bao's best friend. However, what kind of best friend talks like this about her friend? So that should have given you a clue right there. Like, this is Bao's so-called best friend. She wouldn't be dogging Bao in this way. So that means she's really not her friend. So that means maybe I shouldn't be listening to things that she's saying. Maybe she's not telling me the complete truth. Never once dawned on you, right? But because you already made up your mind about Bao, you already think she's this awful person. Anything anybody says to go with your argument, you're automatically going to glom onto. And I thought that was so unfair. Unfair to have the conversation, unfair to believe Sarah, and then doubly unfair to just throw that on Bao in front of everybody and not discuss it with her first. That was trifling. So when Dr. Pepper left, Bao's talking to him and she was like, honestly, I can admit that I was not the best in some of my past relationships, but I haven't done any of those things in this relationship. And you know who doesn't know that? Sarah. She's like, Sarah doesn't know what I've done in relationships. She doesn't know how I've turned things around. She doesn't know how I have a different mindset when it comes to things. She's never seen me married. She's like, the reason why Sarah doesn't know those things is because Sarah's the type of person where if I'm in a situation like this where things aren't going great, she's not the friend that's going to be like, oh, Bao, you need to look inward, or Bao, you need to talk it out. She's the one that would be like, oh, yeah, you should leave. Girl, no, just leave it alone. She's like, Sarah's negative. That's why I didn't go to her with any of this. Yes, she's my friend, but I didn't invite her into my marriage. I didn't tell any stuff that was going on because I didn't want her negativity to taint my view on things and to make me not want to work on things. But again, if Johnny had just had that conversation with Bao initially, Johnny would know that. But Johnny doesn't even want to hear it because, again, he's already made up his mind. So it doesn't matter what Bao says in this moment. He's still going to believe that, oh, she is this way, she is this way, she is manipulative, she is controlling, she's all these bad things. So he ends up walking out and she ends up just drinking his wine or champagne and eating his food like, okay, well, But it's so, obviously Sarah is an awful friend. We can all agree on that. Sarah sucks. As I wish I even thought to open my mouth and call my friend's man to be like, you might want to be careful because my friend, she ain't the best girl in the world. She's cool, I love her, but as a girlfriend, like, But again, that's not your place. It's not your place. Why are you talking to this man? Why are you talking? Y'all not friends. Johnny and Sarah are not friends. And then Johnny was like, I just feel so bad for dragging Sarah into this because I feel like she was just trying to help and she was just trying to help me make sense of things. You feel bad for Sarah? F her. I don't curse. But F that chick. What you feel sorry for her? Not sorry for Bao potentially lost her best friend. That's basically what happened today. She got betrayed by her husband.